Hey, Margie here. We live in such a fast paced world that sometimes we feel like our mind's going here and there and jumping around, and we just don't even know how to slow down. Well, if that's the case, or if you just want to learn a little bit about mindfulness, you are in the right place. And this is such an important topic because for our bones and overall health, stress is really something that has many negative consequences, including increasing the activity of the osteoclast, the cells that break down bone, and decreasing the activity of the bone building cells. So, this is such an important topic for all of us. And I'm absolutely thrilled about our special guest today, Cheryl Jones. And for over the past 30 years, Cheryl has delivered hundreds of presentations across the United States on wellness, health, and mindfulness. Cheryl's mission is to provide health empowerment experiences while supporting the whole person, helping them to thrive in body, mind, and spirit. Cheryl was formerly the director of mindfulness at Aetna. She holds a master's degree in health education and exercise science from the University of Connecticut and a certificate in spirituality from the University of St. Joseph. She is the author of two books, Thrive When Your Cosmic Egg is Cracked, A Mindful Journey and Mindful Exercise, a bridge between yoga and exercise. And she's been teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction really all over the country and to so many different groups. And I'm very excited. In this interview, she takes us through a very powerful short process that you can right away put into your day to get you started. Because I think everybody should experience this because once you do, I just don't think your life will be the same. So thanks for being here, and I'm excited to have you tune in to this special interview. Welcome, Cheryl. I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast. This is such an important topic. Most people don't even realize how critical it is. And I'm just really happy that you're here to help me spread the importance of this and actually give people things they can do.
Oh, Margie, thank you so much for inviting me to be here for this conversation.
It's so interesting because in this community of people who really care about their bone health and other things, what I have seen so many times, and it just breaks my heart, is people having falls because their mind was somewhere else. They're walking across the street and they're worrying about their grandchild, or they're worrying about this, or they're worrying about that, and they're totally not living in the present moment. And because of that, horrible things have happened that could have been totally avoidable if they were practicing mindfulness. And it's just a way of life that I know for myself, it's not natural, but I've been doing this for, oh gosh, probably, mm, let's see, I took a course back in 2000, I think I'm in 2010, so a long time practicing really every day, and it's completely life changing. So why don't you share really what is mindfulness? Because, I think the definition, not everybody really understands that.
Yeah, so true, Margie. And it's interesting, mindfulness has built a lot of traction. It's become very popular over the last couple of decades. And you're right, it's kind of confusing for people. And so always appreciate the opportunity to hopefully lend some clarity and help people to carve out a pathway to making this practice a little more accessible. And so, at its core, mindfulness is about being awake and aware. It's about being present in the moment that we're in right now. And interestingly enough, we all have this capacity for awareness. It's innate in being a human being. But the way that we've all been educated and socialized, we're not really trained or taught how to access this inner capacity for moment to moment presence or awareness. And as you said, at a very practical level, just getting through the day and being safe. It's just being awake and aware of what is happening in my environment. Am I cutting vegetables? Am I riding my bike with headphones? Am I paying attention to what's happening around me? And also within me? What are the thoughts going through my mind? What are the feelings that I'm feeling in a moment? What are the sensations in my body? Where's my breath? All of this. So, mindfulness is about paying attention to whatever is happening within me and around me in this moment.
Before we even go further, I love the backstory. I know my backstory, and I've told this on the podcast before, but is that I was happy. I mean, I'm always been a happy person, but I was quite stressed in a happy way, but certainly not mindful. And I decided to take mindfulness-based stress reduction class that was offered near me, and I got a speeding ticket. It wasn't the first class that they didn't do anything. This on the second class, I got a speeding ticket on the way to this class, and that hit me in the head. You are absolutely not practicing what you preach, and made me take this practice so seriously as though my life depended on it. But the truth is my life really did depend on it because after that, my life changed so dramatically for the positive. So do you have a story as well? How you got involved with mindfulness?
Well, back in 1996, I read John Kabat-Zinn's book, Wherever You Go, There You Are. And that was what was the catalyst to realizing that, oh, meditation isn't what I thought it was. Because, there are many forms of meditation, as many as there are yoga practices or modalities of exercise. And I guess I had these preconceived ideas of what I thought meditation was, and mindfulness meditation felt accessible to me. I thought, oh my gosh, that's what it is. I could do that. I never thought of myself as an exercise physiologist. I like to move, I don't like to sit. And when I got to the back of the book and realized that the MBSR, the mindfulness based stress reduction program, uh, was in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I lived at that time in Avon, Connecticut, I thought, oh, this will help me be a better parent. That's really what the motivation was. I had my son who was a toddler and realized I was pregnant during my first training. I'm like, why am I nauseous every morning? Well, I must be really blown out from all this meditation. But I was married to somebody at the time who was a very stressful person. And so, to your point about stress, it was my desire to manage the stress that was in my life now, being married to a person who was very stressful. And I thought, well, I'm stressed enough as I am. And now it's even exacerbated. And I don't want this to touch these little beings that I'm raising. So that was the motivation back in, my 30s for coming into this practice.
Wow, so interesting. It's just interesting how we get yeah, I just did it because it was local, and I thought I was really doing it for my patients, thinking, everybody's so stressed out. This could really help them. Ha ha. Until I got that speeding ticket, like, who really needed this was me. But as you said, yeah, and that's the program I did too, the mindfulness-based stress reduction, which was just so powerful. So why is it that we aren't mindful? Like, what do you think it is in our society or what's going on that we just this piece of it, even though you said it's innate, it's not something that we're practicing or living. What do you think's going on that's causing that?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, our brain wiring. We, through the fight or flight mechanism, are wired to protect ourselves. And so the mind is always on the lookout for negativity. It's always looking for how to keep us safe. And so, running around in stress reactivity mode and not even realizing that this is what we're doing. We're living our lives in fight or flight mode. And particularly these days, I think of the last 20 years, or less 30 years, really, because I'm in my 60s now. And it's like how fast life has gotten. I thought life was stressful back then. It's the pace that we're living is not humanly possible to keep up this pace, which is why I think post pandemic, we're seeing such a rise, and our mental illness, our mental well-being, our mental health is such a an important conversation these days. And we're blaming it all on the pandemic, but let's face it. Well, this has been coming on for the last 3 decades. We've been getting faster and faster and faster with our iPhones and with technology and with always being accessible and social media and FOMO and thinking somebody else's life is better than ours, looking at Facebook. This has been coming on for a long time. So we're kind of creating through our lifestyle choices mental illness for ourselves and, mental disruption, a lack of well being by the way that we're living our lives every day. So having the ability to stop, training ourselves to stop, training ourselves to stop so we slow our pace down, and also to get familiar with what are these stressful patterns of thinking that are getting in the way of my day to day, forget happiness, just ease, a sense of ease and contentment with the life that I'm living has become a, a health priority for us as a nation and for us as individuals. It's like, what am I doing? Checking my smartphone, however many times a day. We don't even realize the addiction we are creating. So there's a lot to be said for how mindfulness helps us to awaken with compassion for ourselves, right? We're not going to judge ourselves. It's all about practicing self-kindness and self-awareness to what am I doing? How is what I am doing serving me or not? And getting our 2 feet on the ground and resetting ourselves every day.
I love this because in this community, people are concerned about their health. That's very important. And people really are doing amazing things. They're exercising, they're working on nutrition, but this piece of it, and I know you believe it's really the heart, that mindfulness is the heart of creating personal health and wellness. This piece of it, and research has proven that. Research has shown where cortisol, the stress hormone, actually it reduces the osteoblast, the bone building cells, increases the osteoclast, the cells that destroy bone. So this has been shown in the research. This isn't something we need to just blow off. This piece, I always say, is equally as important, if not more important. And I just think people want to enjoy their life. You're here one life. So this adding this mindfulness is so wonderful. But why do you think it's the heart of really all of health and wellness?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Margie, when you're saying when you're talking about stress, because stress is a barrier. It is the barrier to living our healthiest life physically. As you said, the stress hormones that are pumping through the body over time. If we keep saying, if with a positive attitude, we just keep saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and just really keep stuffing the stress down and pretending that it doesn't exist, it it often does manifest itself in some type of physiological problem. We say that living in a state of dis-ease can create disease. So, it's one all those we all have bad genes that we're managing, right? As humans, we all have some genetically predisposition that, we're, trying our best to avoid triggering. Um, and learning how to get ourselves out of this stress reactivity, particularly if it's chronic stress. Like we need stress. Stress is good. It helps us to grow and thrive and reach our potential. But if it's chronic stress and we're living with this in this toxic state as a way of life, that's when it can wear our immune systems down and make us more susceptible to all kinds of diseases and disorders that we really would prefer to avoid if possible. Um, so I think stress is critical, removing that barrier to living with greater health physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially. I think the reason why I believe also that mindfulness is at the heart of living a healthy life in all ways is that it really is what gives us the lens that helps us to know, to be aware of what am I doing, and why? What's triggering this? Going for the gallon of ice cream, or what's triggering me lashing out to this person unintentionally? What's triggering me to engage in a behavior that I know is potentially harmful? And so it gives us that lens to see ourselves in our lives with greater clarity. And again, this is where the self compassion comes in. I always think of this practice of mindfulness is, the other wing. So the awareness is one wing of the angel, if we want to say it, and the compassion, self compassion is the other. Like we have to have both awareness and self compassion to be able to live with greater health and vitality. And so being able to see clearly what am I doing or not that's serving me or not with awareness and self compassion. So inch by inch, I start living in a way that really serves my whole being.
I love that. And sometimes, I know people are listening and we're thinking, I don't have time in my life for even my exercise. How am I possibly putting this in? There's just no time. So, what do you tell people, and where do people start? Because it can be, I'm such a big overwhelm is our enemy, as you know. And I think a lot of people are thinking there's just no time, which and so it's I know that if you have no time, then you absolutely need this. But, what's your thought on that? If someone's listening and they're thinking, "You know what? I just don't have time for this." Where do you tell people they can start with mindfulness?
Great question. And I really think again, the piece of this that's the self-compassion is meeting ourselves where we are. And so I've seen a lot of people have success with developing a formal mindfulness meditation practice because like we said at the beginning of this conversation, it's it's really an attitude and a way of engaging in life, but how do we cultivate this attitude? Just like we might lift weights to strengthen our physical muscles, we do a mindfulness practice to strengthen our mental muscle. And so it can be tacked on. It can be tacked on to something else that you're doing. So if you do have an exercise routine, maybe either before or after, just tacking on 5 minutes to be still with yourself and give yourself some space to tune into the breath and to just get familiar with what are the thoughts going through my mind as I'm getting ready for my day or as I'm going to sleep at night. And what are the emotions that I'm feeling, and give myself just a little bit of space to tune in. And, what is happening in my body? What are the sensations that I'm experiencing, after my workout or whatever? So it could be some 5 minutes tacked on to a routine that you already have established. It could also be going into your calendar and setting up, a reminder, if you're getting ready for a meeting or for an appointment or for an important conversation to stop, like training ourselves to stop, which is very unnatural with the pace that we're all living. And so I think we can build in moments where we're not expecting ourselves to do a 10-minute mindfulness meditation, but maybe we're just stopping for 1 minute to remember and train ourselves what it feels like to stop. And if we did that 3 times a day for a minute, well, that's 3 minutes, and that's times that by three. That's 21 minutes in the week that you are stopping. So there are all kinds of creative ways to just get the ball rolling in that direction. And then, like anything else we do, it does become easier. It's really about developing a new habit and having a willingness to try to develop this new habit.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I have found is for me, I have to make practices. a priority. And when I don't, somehow I waste time, like things go wrong. It's just unbelievable the difference in my day when I do my mindfulness practices and do everything versus when I don't. It's just that for some reason you get more time when you're mindful, which seems counterintuitive, but it's so true. Do you wanna maybe could you take us through, like, a one-minute thing that people could do? You know, like, you're talking about, okay, just take a minute to tune in. Would that be possible so people have a sense of what they could do in just and that's what I love, just pausing. Doing that little pause during the day is gonna take you out of the cycle of craziness and reset you. So I love what you said, and I think it's so true.
Absolutely. And again, meeting ourselves where we are, training ourselves how to stop. Because I think a lot of people wonder, okay, so I'm stopping. What do I do? What do I do while I'm doing nothing? So let me show you. So the first thing is bringing your body into a posture that is purposeful, upright, but not uptight, we say. So the feet are firmly planted on the ground and the body is upright and dignified. The crown of the head is lifted towards the sky, so the back is straight but not stiff. And the hands are resting in the lap, palms down or palms up, whichever you prefer. The eyes are lowered in a soft gaze, or if you prefer, the eyes can be closed. My eyes are closed. And just noticing what it feels like to be bringing the body into this intentional position. It sends a message to the body that I'm doing something on purpose. And just noticing any sounds coming from the space with that around you, maybe noticing any sensation in the body, the pressure of the feet on the floor, or the sensation of the hands in the lap or the chair beneath. And then as you feel ready, bringing your awareness to the breath. And you don't need to change or manipulate the breath in any way. We're just noticing that the body is breathing and beginning to follow the air as it moves in and out of the body. And as you do this, you may note that the breath is shallow or short or choppy, or maybe it's long, deep, or smooth. There's no correct here. It's just following the breath as it is in this moment. And noticing where you feel the sensation of breathing, maybe the air at the tip of the nose, or gentle movement at the chest and ribs, possibly even the belly rising and then sinking. And just seeing if you can let your attention settle on the sensations of the breath. And if a thought comes into your mind, there's no need to block it out. Just notice whatever that thought is, acknowledge it, and let it go, and bring the attention back to the next breath in and the next breath out. Let's just follow three more cycles of breathing, being as present as is possible for each one. Gently beginning to transition, remembering this place of awareness is always available to you because it's within you. So if the eyes were closed, gently allowing them to open again, just noticing your surroundings, maybe noticing how you feel right now. Thank you so much for that practice.
Oh, thank you. That was so great. Didn't take a lot of time. And I'm wondering how everyone, obviously, if you're driving, you didn't do that, but everyone feels. I mean, just if you're doing that throughout the day, and I mean, I feel so relaxed. It's just, it's so powerful. And I think I really loved that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think the other thing is, I'm a big fan of Eckhart Tolle and the power of now and the present moments. And so many of us live in the past or we live in the future of fear, especially with bone health. Oh my gosh, I'm going to fall and break a bone. And you can't do anything in the future. The only area you can affect is the present. So I think this has so many implications. What's your thought about when you live what have you found with living in the present?
To me, it's about how living in the present moment informs how we go through the day. It's we all want to plan, right? Planning for the future, and that's natural. We're always going to have thoughts about the future, and that's necessary. It's a- and if we want to reflect to the past because we're trying to maybe gain some wisdom, what did I do that I would want to repeat, or maybe not so much. So I think it's normal and healthy and natural as humans to reflect on the past and plan for the future, but we don't want to be rehashing and rehearsing through our whole lives. So to me, when we are awake and aware and present in this moment, it does inform the next choice that we make. And so the question that I invite myself and invite this audience to consider as we are moving forward and building a habit of pausing and being more mindful is, in this moment, what is the most self-caring choice I can make? So to me, having a mindfulness practice, the power of that and having it feel empowering and helping us feel more in charge is that it informs how we go through each and every day.
I that's great. Now, I know in your work you talk about the word thrive and that's something that you feel, really changes lives when people learn how to thrive in life. And I know this practice is part of it. You want to just explain what that means a little bit?
Absolutely. And this is something that's come because I've been practicing mindfulness for, 30 years. And so I'm always growing and changing and evolving and taking note of, how is this practice informing the way that I am living my life? And I think during the pandemic, we all can agree that that was, as individuals and as a society, we really were challenged in every aspect of health, our mental health, our social health, our physical health. And so this concept of thriving really came up for me throughout the pandemic. And I started to test it with small circles of about 10 people over the last few years. And what I've been learning is that, what it means to thrive looks different for each of us. 30 or 40 years ago when I first started out as, wellness coach and personal trainer, I was thinking, what does fitness mean? And then it was what does mean? And now it's what does thriving mean? The whole person, if we think of our whole being and wanting to move through life with, more mental balance and clarity and a helpful perspective. If I want to feel like I belong and I have greater connection and a better ability to communicate and build strong relationships in my life. If I want to learn how to work with my own stressful feelings and feel more compassion and better resilience. If I want to eat better, sleep better, move more, And spiritually, what gives me a sense of purpose in my life? Um, do I like to what degree do I trust and have faith that there is a benevolent force or a higher power? All of this to me is what it means to thrive. And so I'm asking myself and I'm asking the people that I'm serving, what does thriving look like for you in every aspect of what it means to be a human being? Recognizing that, that's a lot, that's a lot. That's big stuff. And that we're not going to be working on every area of our wellness at the same time. So it's always about, again, the self-compassion, what's screaming at me, which is the area that is really calling for my care and attention. And how do I start helping myself thrive in that area? We just have to, again, meet ourselves where we are, begin somewhere. So thriving is holistic to me, and the practice of mindfulness helps me to know what would help me right here, right now, and just inch by inch move towards a life and a lifestyle that feels like I, in this lifetime, can grow and change and eventually thrive. We don't just wake up one day, turn over a new leaf, and start thriving. It's a journey.
Yeah, and I think that inch by inch is so important because, as I said, overwhelm is our enemy, and so when you do something inch by inch and add something like, like that practice and keep adding it, then one day, like right now, it's a huge part of my life. But if you had told me, back when I started that class, are you kidding? And it's just so empowering. Well, what have you seen? Because you've been teaching this now to so many people and helping people add this piece to their life. What have you seen with all the people that you've been working with?
It really is holistic. The benefits are different for each person. I'm thinking about just the last year. One client ended up, she wasn't even trying to manage her weight or lose weight. She, I think, just accepted that, she was going to be this weight. And just by developing a mindfulness meditation practice, lost 35 or pounds and her body changed. She wasn't even trying to change her body, but it changed because she just as a result of paying attention to her life in general, started noticing if I eat this, this is how I feel before, during, and after. So it was just like so interesting that weight loss, like, how many people are so focused on weight loss, and we're trying so hard, we're striving towards this, whatever we think is the ideal weight, but that is a byproduct of something much grander. So I've seen people lose weight. Relationships, right? We talk about stress, like, so much of the stress in our lives is because of our relationships. So I've seen people transform relationships with their friends or family members and people who maybe they were, really journeying with for most of their lives, realizing that perhaps this relationship isn't so healthy. So I'm not going to cut this person out of my life, but I'm going to maybe not talk to them every day or every week. I need to find a healthy place for this relationship because it's having a negative impact on me. Or if I want to improve my communication with my mother or my son, it's that, how do I pay attention to the words that I am using, and how often am I interrupting and not letting a person finish their thoughts and coming across as being bossy? So the meticulousness of how we're relating to other people can really help us to see where maybe sometimes we might be getting in the way of creating a healthy relationship and see opportunities for our own self growth. So those are two really big areas, the weight management and improving our relationships, that seem to be general themes. And also this spirituality. I believe that mindfulness is a spiritual practice. That has always been my perspective. It's not only a mental, clarity, thought watching practice, but it's really um, feeling more connected and feeling a sense of belonging in my life in general. And that seems to be what people also take away from it. It helps them to really feel that sense of purpose and connection because having a practice, you know, where am I putting my energy every day? And how often are we swiping and scrolling through life and that's not giving us any energy? If anything, it's creating more anxiety. So, really getting tuned with how am I using my energy and how can I use my energy more purposefully?
I resonate with every single word that you're saying because this is, as I said, this has changed my life. Plus, this has changed really everyone's any person who has started these practices reports back, wow. And, they didn't realize what was missing and how this can enhance their life in so many ways. So I have to share, I'm so excited about something. So I love the work Cheryl does, and I think it's so needed because it's missing. So Cheryl is going to do a program with me. It's going to be an hour class, really teaching this in more detail. You want to, and it's very inexpensive. It's just $22. We tried to keep the price as low as possible so more people could enjoy this and benefit. You want to just share what you're going to be teaching in the class?
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to partner with you on this, Margie. It's going to be a class, a session that is designed to introduce mindfulness practice. So we would take a deeper dive than what we talked about today and really looking at, what does a mindfulness practice look like? And we'll have a little worksheet that we can use so you can create your own mindfulness practice plan, and I'll be your guide for just helping you set that up so you can really get yourself ready to be successful in setting up and sustaining an actual mindfulness meditation practice. I'll also be showing you some ways that you can bring mindfulness into your everyday life to inform how you can improve your wellness socially, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And we'll have a conversation about what does thriving mean for you so that when folks leave this session, they will feel empowered with a new skill to move forward with greater health and vitality.
Oh, I am just so excited about this. And yeah, the link will be in the show notes, but you can also just go to tinyurl.com/Cheryl, Cheryl, Margie, Margi. And and that should get you there as well. But the link will be in the show notes. But yes, because you know what, it's great to talk about this, but I think it's so much more helpful, and that everybody start with the little practice that Cheryl introduced because you don't realize how powerful that is in just tuning in and where we live outside of our bodies, right, Cheryl? I mean, this is what I see. We're in our heads. Me too. I definitely get there in days that I'm really busy. All of a sudden, I'm like living in my head, breathe, do the practices, and yeah, it just makes such a difference. Tell us also though, but you also do one-on-one work. So you want to share a little bit about what that is and how people could connect with you for that?
Sure. So I do offer coaching, individual sessions, bundles, whatever is your desire, and it's really about starting a mindfulness practice and then determining which area of your health and vitality is most important, and just taking baby steps with setting some baby steps to living a happier, healthier life, and with mindfulness practice as the foundation to teaching yourself how to stop and move forward with a little more kindness and consciousness.
Yeah, I just love this, and I think everyone who's listened to me over the years knows that this is so much what I believe in, and it's just often overlooked. And it's a piece that once you put it in, just everything, your life becomes so much more synchronistic. And so, as you said, I've seen that also with losing weight where people are trying. They sort of give up. They're doing mindfulness and other training. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I've lost all this weight. I've seen that as well, which is so nice because I never focus really on weight loss. That's just not an area it's just not what I really work on. And for the most part. And so, but it's a byproduct of just living a healthier life. Blood sugar, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. So many people who have pre-diabetes and blood sugar issues, once they've started these practices, it changes so much. So it's just so powerful. Is there any this has been really wonderful, and I'm just so grateful that you were able to take the time and be here with me today, and also for this class. Is there anything else you wanna share before we end?
Thank you so much for having this conversation, Margie. I do have a book. It's called Thriving When Your Cosmic Egg is Cracked. A mindful journey, and it's a book about my own story through the most tumultuous chapter of my own life. So if anyone out there is going through a really difficult time, or if you have in the past and you're trying to heal forward, there are many exercises in the book. It's not just about my story. Every chapter has reflective exercises that might be helpful for you. So, again, thriving when your cosmic egg is cracked might be interesting for folks out there.
And I'll put that link as well in the show notes so it's easy for people to access. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I know I'm a person who feels energy. I just feel such good positive energy. It's early in the morning that Cheryl and I are meeting. So I have the whole day ahead to feel this good energy and take it with me through the day as I live mindfully. So thank you so much. And I'm our class is on the 21st. It's Thursday at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you can't make it, you can get or if you're listening to this and the class is over, the link will go to the replay. So you'll always be able to access the class. It's not just it's one time live, but it will be available afterwards as well. And again, if you can't make it, you can still sign up and you'll get the replay. So thank you so much, Cheryl. It's been such a pleasure, and I look forward to on the 21st.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Cheryl and now have a better understanding of the importance of mindfulness and how a short practice, even what Cheryl did with us today, can make such a big difference in both your bones and overall health. And I just really, really suggest that you try it. Don't take my word for this. Try it and see what changes occur in your life. And I'm very excited about the class that Cheryl and I are doing together. And that's going to be on September 21st at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And all the information for that is in the show notes. You can also go to tinyurl.com. So tinyurl.com/Cheryl, Cheryl, Margie, Margie. And that will get you to the link as well. And I think it's gonna be a really special class. It's not that expensive, $22. And, to be able to learn even more practices and how you can integrate this very, very important piece in your life. And also make sure to download my free Improve Your Bone Health Naturally mini course. And that's also in the show notes. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.